Hi, so how's things been going for you? I know it's been a little while, hasn't it?
It's been a long while. Have you looked at the last time we got together on a call or anything? It's been a
No, have
long,
you?
long, long time. Super long. Too long. And I think that's my fault partially. I don't know. But yeah, things just got crazy. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know. I can't remember. A year? Has it been a year?
It might have been. I know it's been since COVID because we were talking about, taking your kids different places and all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
Right. Right. Yeah. So things feel like they're back to normal here. How about you?
it's about the same. It's still it's quite weird actually. You could probably write a really good poem about it. That it's like all of the lines for separation, for queues and stuff, they're starting to fade away on the floor, and some places are starting to take down their mask signs. So it's interesting to see and like watch from like an outsider point of view, almost.
So, okay, just for posterity, I just want to make sure we note this. This is August of 2022, August 22nd of 2022, a bunch of twos. Um, so that's just starting to happen in the UK?
Well, it kind of. It's like we're talking about jabs because apparently we've just made a new jab or something like that, like vaccines.
Okay.
Um, and things have been open for a while now, but
Yes.
um, I kind of have an expectation that coming into winter things might change again because last winter was kind of hit and miss, and then
Right.
it's been fine since like January, but
Hmm.
we don't know what's
Okay.
to come. So
Okay. Okay. So you're in the
that's
UK and it's kind of slow to opening up. I'm in Canada and in Ontario, and here things opened like, well, open. We had a big shutdown in January. That's when I had COVID. So pretty much if you didn't have COVID in January and where I'm from, that, you probably already had it, or you really, really didn't go anywhere. You were isolated from the world, right? But after that, things like I haven't worn a mask indoors. Like I can't remember. I think maybe to a dental appointment, but not even that. Like everything's completely wide open now, right now. So we have no idea
yeah,
what's happening because they are talking about another wave and all this type of thing. And it's kind of just here to stay. It's like how we deal with the flu and stuff like that. So that's how that is in my mind. That's how it feels to me. So
yeah.
I
It's
feel
kind
good
of
about
similar
it.
here with like the masks and things. Like you
Right.
still see people wearing masks. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like
Yeah, they
rare.
can wear masks. Like people have like pre-existing conditions and whatever, and it's like totally cool here that if you're wearing a mask or not, everybody respects that and understands it. But for the majority, people, if they're well and everything else, they're totally not wearing masks. So
Yeah,
we're feeling a little bit more free these days to move about, gather. Um, so, like 2.5 years ago, I mean, how long have we known each other? We'd have to go in the records and see, but COVID kind of stopped my growth of my business because I wanted to be getting together with people. And
yeah,
I wanted to be going into talking to schools about Shine On and all these things. And it just took a turn because I'm not sure if we had talked. I think we talked like early spring of 2020. For sure we did, because
I think so.
I have a recollection of a conversation about all of that. And I remember being out walking and talking with you, and we were doing the thing where you don't cross on the sidewalk. You go
Yeah,
out on the street and such. Just like, in my community, there's lots of people that are elderly. They were wearing masks. And if you saw that, you went really wide, gave them lots of room, make them feel comfortable. But the week that everything shut down in 2020 in March is the same week that I was booking, wanting to go in and speak at schools and trying to figure out how to reach young people and be in this conversation that I love to be in. And so now this week, I'm promoting a parent night of parents coming to get together in a conversation next Wednesday. It's the first time I'm doing something in my business and in my life that feels normal. like getting people together to have a conversation, talk about young people, talk about their development, talk about career planning, like, post high school education, like where are they going to go? How do they know themselves? Like, how are you going to navigate all that? Right. So I want to get into that conversation. I'm just getting started, it feels like. I feel like it's been like a
Mhm.
2.5 year hiatus, like everything put on hold, and so that's where my mind is at. I'm in that headspace of things are starting to feel normal and we're starting to figure out how to live with this. And I can get people together in a room. It's something that's really on my heart. I just want to have parents and people, like I want to get people together and have a conversation. And then it's likely that what I'm doing in person will be some sort of online thing that I'll do, and I'll get people to sign up
Mhm.
and watch virtually or whatever. But for now, I don't have the bandwidth, or my head's not there to figure out how to do all of that with the tech, you know. But I'm very excited because that's what's on my focus. Like my this week and next week is all about this parent night workshop thing that I want to do.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's nice to see that although the past 2 years haven't got to plan, that you're still being able to pick that up. It's really good.
Well, yeah, it's a blessing not to have uh, given up on it, is how I see it. It's been a long time. It's like
Yeah,
really a long time to wait to figure it out. And I could never figure out the tech of how to do it online. And I don't know. I think the timing's right now to be in person with people and be in the conversation. And I feel like that's going to help me grow my business, like the feedback to be in conversation, not be just one-sided talking to a camera. I mean, that's great. I can talk to the world. That's wonderful. But, I want to see
yeah,
faces and I want to see reactions and I want to get in the conversation. So that's where it's at for me. That's how I'm growing my business. And I came up with a package for young people to do the playbook and come and hang out with me and do what I'm calling like an onboarding. So if their parents buy the package for them, they'll come and they'll hang out with me and do, like, you've seen the clarity map. So we do the
mhm,
clarity map and then they can come and do these hangouts with me. So I'm starting at a library because at the library, I just have the space there and it's not expensive to book space at the library. It's really economical. I can afford to book space and have people come and be in this new kind of conversation that I'm leading, let's call it. So yeah, everything's new, everything's out there. I've got a package. I'm actually taking on clients and doing one-on-ones and all this type of thing. So
that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
yeah,
And I think a library is a really good idea.
yeah.
Just like it just feels like a safe space, doesn't it? Like you never feel like someone's going to hurt you in a library. So,
Right. And
uh,
and also I think for a lot of young people, um when's the last time they were in one? You know? So that's what I'm seeing. Um And it looks like you're frozen. Tell me if you're there. Have I lost you?
there we go. I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah,
Awesome.
sorry, the internet keeps crashing.
That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, so um I just couldn't believe how much time had gone by. I saw your post on LinkedIn, and you're thinking about this concept of freedom and everything. And I'm thinking, let's get into it. Let's
Mhm.
talk about, like, tell me how'd you get to that point where that's what you're thinking about? Because I'm going to tell you before I give you the whole, like, run with it and dial me into what's in your world, what's in your mind. That's the first, freedom is the first element of Shine On. It's freedom, meaning, and expression. And the freedom piece, I
Mhm.
was like, Gareth's talking about freedom. We have to talk. And I want to share this. So I'm so glad that you're like into getting on the call, like doing it recorded and sharing it. So we're going to be putting this up and, like, just tell me, like, bring us into your world and then let's have a chat about it.
Sure. So, a quick rundown of what's gone on since we last spoke.
Sure.
Um, First off, I closed my business in October of last year.
Okay.
Um, I closed it down because simply it wasn't bringing in enough money, monthly recurring, visible money that would pay the bills.
Okay.
and I had bills, and I was like, there's gonna be a point where I can't just keep working on it just for it to just about make it.
Got it.
Um, so I closed that. I got a job as a content marketing manager, I think the title was. At a small data protection startup. There was literally like six of us, and that was in October. Come
Hmm.
December, I lost my job.
Oh no.
So great start back into employment. Um, it was a shame, but it basically turned out that it sounded like they wanted someone that could do everything in marketing, and I'm not that guy. Like I cannot do the paid side of marketing, and I haven't had experience on the paid side of marketing. And I was upfront with them since the beginning, and basically they said they needed someone that could do that, which is fine because it just so happened it wasn't the right fit at the time. And I understand with startups, like money is tight. So,
Right.
yeah, that came as a surprise and it happened with immediate effect. But um, yeah, so 2.5 months in, and I lost my job. Then run round until about April. I was doing a bit of freelance work with that company that I was working for before Christmas. And then April hit and I got a job. Um, and now I'm leaving there in like 2 weeks' time. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's it's
What
it's
was
been a
that
tough.
job?
So that's personal brand manager, basically doing the exact same thing I was doing with my own company, but for a friend. Um, that company has grew about 3 times since I've been there over the past 6 months, which is incredible for him. But it's my role at the moment is basically working with clients and helping them create content on LinkedIn and building the strategy behind that. But it's very heavily copywriting, and I'm a visual guy, so um,
Mm,
yeah, we've decided to part ways a little bit, and my contract ends on the 5th. Um, so mentally, I've just had a pretty bad year, to be honest, and to just be upfront, and financially probably about the same as well.
mhm.
But it happens, and I'm still 23, and I'm trying to keep above water. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I haven't been posting as often on LinkedIn because simply since around October, I just haven't been feeling like I should. My energy felt like it needed to be in other places, and although I really want to post on LinkedIn, it's almost like there's been a shift that is like mentally stopping me from posting on LinkedIn. Um, I don't know if it's a culture shift. I mean, I've seen loads of people that are blowing up on there, and that's amazing. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the healthiest place for me to be right now.
Oh, okay.
Um, which is kind of strange because that's what my whole business was built upon. On top of that, I've started working in software development and like learning how to code. That's been fun at times, painful at others, as you can imagine,
Sure.
um, and quite tedious. But now I'm kind of looking for a role in that area as best as I can.
Mm,
My skills
hmm.
probably aren't fully up to scratch, but I really want to learn. So I'm hoping that'll carry me through. And also, I've clearly stated on my CV, on my resume, that I can also bring expert marketing advice. So if that's an additional selling point, then I'll take it.
Got
So
it.
yeah, at the moment, I'm just kind of looking for roles. I'm working part time at this company Kurogo, and yeah, I've also moved back into my girlfriend's parents' house with my girlfriend, and
Hmm.
like I've started trying to meet up with friends and making
Hmm.
friends. Um, it's 50-50. And one of my friends who's really, really into fitness, he's actually asked me if I'd like to start a fitness company with him. That would technically be his first business, so I would actually be the most experienced business person, which is super weird. But
Okay.
yeah, it's very, very early days. It's like really, really early, to be honest. But yeah, that's
What do you mean? What do you mean early days? Like early days, is that an expression like of in the business or like you have to be up at 5 a.m.? What do you or what do
early
you mean
days in the
early days?
business. Yeah, so basically trying to figure out what to sell because it's
Okay.
like just the same as any business, I suppose. Trying to find out what you actually want to sell, who you want to sell to, and why you're actually doing it. I
Yes,
made it very, very clear that if I was going to get into something, I don't just want it to be a money grab exercise. I want it to be
sure.
because like I wanted to know his pure intentions down to like the deepest level. So we
Sure.
just had a walk around town for about an hour and we just had a talk about it. And I've known this guy since secondary school, since like 12 or something like that. And now I'm
Okay.
23, so about 10 years. And ever since I've known him, he's been going to the gym. So I know his knowledge is rooted, but I wanted to make sure that his intentions were pure, basically. Um,
So,
but yeah,
okay,
kind of
what
as a
did you
whole,
come up with? What did you come up with? I need to know. So you said you wanted to know what you would be selling. You wanted to know why and to who. So what did you, can you give us a little hint, a glimpse into what you came up with?
sure. So there was a few ideas, and we literally had this massive roll of paper and a bunch of Sharpies and all of that sort of stuff. But there was a few ideas. One of the ideas was a virtual personal trainer. So essentially, exactly what you would get with your personal trainer at the gym, but virtual. And that was going to be targeted more towards those busy people or even those moms as well.
Sure.
Um, Moms are super busy and sometimes they can't get to the gym, especially when you've got a 3-year old running around your legs.
That's
And I know that because
true.
that's the exact situation my sister's in. Um,
Okay.
and then on top of that, we had a few other ideas like an education platform and all of this sort of stuff. But I think we're going to start off with like workout plans and then also having that kind of constant support. But one of my biggest learnings from B2B is that relationships really do matter. And if we
Mm-hmm.
just said, fill out this survey and then you will get a workout plan in your email, that's very
Mm-hmm.
transactional. So instead, I'd like to, ideally, if someone signs with us, we actually take them for coffee and just have a sit down and a conversation about what they're actually looking for in terms of their fitness and their health.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everyone wants to be a bodybuilder. Some people just want to make sure that their legs are still working, and you know that's completely fine.
Yeah.
So ideally, that's what I would like to do anyway. But we're kind of in the phase where we've just put green dots next to which ones we want to run with, and now we've got to figure out how we're going to do it. So
So
that's what I mean by early
exciting.
days. It's like
Sure.
still
Just
still
sorting
a
it out.
puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
totally relate to what you're talking about there. I'd totally be an ideal client. So my mind goes to, well, what's in the way? What's the problem? Right? Like, what are we solving? What's the desire? And
Mm,
yeah, time management, finding time for it, habit, like changing behavior to incorporate it into your lifestyle. That's something that people need support with. Um, Definitely. It'll be interesting to see what you come up with because there's so many platforms and apps and things happening that get people moving. And I can just contribute. For me, it's like I don't know how to move like that. Like I see things online, I see exercises and people doing workouts, and then I go to try to do them. And when I'm in my body, I'm not seeing my body and I don't know if I'm in proper form or
yeah.
not. And like, so there's these things about safety and how you could hurt yourself if you don't know how to execute proper form. And I personally am in this new little workout thing that I'm doing with a friend, and we are learning how to swing kettlebells, and
Yeah.
they're heavy and you can hurt your back. Like you have to be safe and smart and know what you're doing. And so my body's never moved like that. I've never moved weight like that. And so um it's a whole thing that when I was at the gym, the trainer showed me. And I feel like it's not an, I don't know how you do that online. Like I just remember
Yeah.
them looking at
We
me and
would
saying,
need
okay,
like
lock up your core and like don't swing past this point and protect your back. And I was, all the things are happening all at once and you're executing this movement. Like, have you ever seen a kettlebell swing?
yeah, yeah.
right? It's heavy. And so all of your body is engaged. And yet you can hurt your back and have to have a certain kind of stance. Your legs have to be a certain width apart, toes have to be a certain way. And when all those puzzle pieces come together, I was still like, I need somebody looking at me and saying, oh, da, 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 making these
Yeah,
modifications and teaching me. And it was the feedback that was really valuable to me. So that's what I'm getting at. Like, and that's a certain kind of exercise. I mean, like if you're gonna, I don't know. I had guidance on how to do squats properly, how to do lunges, like protect your knees, protect your back, lock up your core, and so they just keep going, and
yeah,
they're like, what, and they stop you, or they, I know one trainer, I saw her at the gym, and she was like literally poking her client, this, tighten this, lock this up, and I was like, see, this is the
yeah,
kind of stuff that doesn't happen online. Like you don't get that feedback. You think you're doing it well, but that's just me. That's where I'm at. I don't know how to do these movements. And I don't have exactly the brightest, clearest connection to my body, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to move like that. If you're teaching me a new
yeah,
movement, I have no clue. And then I'm kind of out of my body. I don't know how, it might look good, but then they're like, did you lock your core? Because they don't know. Did you, they could be,
mm,
anyway, I'm just sharing on that front because it's really important work. It's brilliant. Like people need to be moving well, being strong, having mobility. Like you're right. Like, can you just be strong? It doesn't matter what you look like. It's how you feel in your body, right? There's that kind of thing. That's where I'm at. My kids are teenagers now, and I'm like, okay, what do I want from my body? Well, I want to feel strong. I don't want to feel like I'm aging,
yeah.
like, because the aging thing, like, oh, it's such a fun conversation, Gareth. Wait till you get there. Anything you could say, oh, my body's like this. Because you're getting older. It's like, that's not fair. So
Yeah,
you're onto something if you're going to focus on moms and stuff like that, because nothing puts your body through something than pregnancy and childbirth. So getting
mm,
yourself back on track after that, that's a market. Of course, it's a brilliant market. Women want that, and finding the time
yeah,
is the issue, but they want it. It's a strong desire. They want that. So I think you're onto something. I think you're going to come up with something great. But tell me more about your mindset.
yeah.
How did you
So
land on posting that post on LinkedIn? How did you?
sure. So when I when I closed my company, um, I reached out to this male coach, and I reached out to him because I've spoke to quite a few coaches, yourself included, and because he was a male, I was like, it would be good to sign him as a coach. Um, and so I reached out to him and I was like, "Hi Scott, can we have a chat?" And
Mhm.
we got chatting, and I signed him as a coach, and he stayed with me for I think it was about 4 months, 4 maybe 5 months, and he helped me through that transition process between having my own company to kind of work. But then it kind of got to the point where I was like, I can't afford coaching now. Because the money I was using to pay off my coaching was the rest of the money I had left from the company.
Okay.
Um, so that basically helped me with the transition.
Hmm.
But it's like I've I've kind of been going round and round in circles for
Mm.
the part like over a year now. It started happening when my company was still active, which could have been part of its descent, to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just one of those. Like I'm trying to fight off negative thoughts. I'm trying to remain positive. I'm trying to do everything I know that you're meant to do. But like it's like
Okay.
yesterday, literally. Obviously, it was Sunday yesterday.
Hmm.
I had nothing to do in the day, and I was sitting there saying I want to build something. Like I want to work on something that's going to help my life, but I didn't have a clue which direction to go in. And
Okay.
it's one of those things where it's like as soon as you start questioning things, you end up in this loop. And I've kind of been in like questioning marketing as a whole, which is why I've started learning software development skills. Because I'm really ambitious about tech, but marketing, there's a massive element of it that's quite deceptive. And I only managed to put it into words around kind of October time. So,
Okay.
and then obviously like losing one job, now losing a second job.
Okay.
Um, it's like mentally the past year has been tough. It's probably the
Right.
only way to put it. Like it's been a hard year, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
like I'm still trying to
I'm
keep my
not
head up
gonna,
and all this sort of stuff, you know.
okay, so we're not gonna, I've got enough, let's say it that way. So you don't have to go through in any more detail because I think anyone could dial in and say, okay, that's a lot to go through in a year. Let's get you into some anchors. There's some mental anchors that you need in order to stay on track and be aligned with yourself, right? Like, so if it works for you, try on the idea that we need to simplify how you look at it because you're like life is dynamic and complex and you can, finding your way. You're saying that you're kind of in a loop for the last year. Is that the expression? What was the expression you used? For the last
Yeah,
year, it's
yeah. Going
been
around in circles type of thing.
so are you seeing a pattern in how your mindset's going and then how things are going?
Kind of. I
Okay.
I think the
Eh,
biggest thing for me is like that lack of direction. But I'm also
Right.
questioning reality as a whole. So
Yes.
those two combined really can form a
Right.
storm. Let's put it that way.
They do for sure. And you know what the good thing is that that's a developmental necessity of life, which is uh a way of saying that that's good, that it's really great. I'm trying to compliment you because a lot of people aren't aware. Okay? They're not aware of that. They're just going through
Mhm.
the motions of life, but you have a self-awareness and you're conscious of it. So you're already ahead of the game. You have the self-awareness of, okay, look at how this is going, right? So
Yeah.
do you see that you get to choose?
To an extent.
Yes. That's what that post signaled to me when I read it on LinkedIn. It had something to do with are we ever really free? Right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so let's open up the box, I think, to where my head was and where that all came from. So
Yes.
I had a conversation with that guy, that fitness guy, and it's something I've been thinking for a while, which is the society we live in, do we actually like we're always brought up in a box, and wherever you start doesn't really matter because we're brought up in this box. So whether you have millions and millions or whether you don't have any money, we're in this box. And I'm not talking like a box which has limitations, but there are certain rules. And it kind of ties into the theory of life being a game
Right.
because since we're a child, no matter what age you are, you're sold that success is getting lots of money, nice cars, and for men, it's the perception of having lots of women generally.
Sure.
Um, and then
Right.
if you actually break that down, you set all your goals based on what you're sold, which is that. So like we all build our life based on what we're told, and that's
Right.
how we come up with our beliefs. And so as you start to grow and you start to go through that scale, you might end up reaching that vision of success that was sold to you when you were a young kid. And when you
Right.
reach there, a lot of people feel unsuccessful because it's just a race. And so realistically, that idea of success is just a distraction from what's actually going on, which is like look at who's in the government for one.
Okay.
Like it's not always the best. And then it's like do we actually have freedom because we're sold on all of these different rules and we're told what we can do and what we can't do. And
Mm-hmm.
even if we get all that money and we can use that money to bypass rules, which is still seen as unmoral, we still
Right.
haven't got freedom because we still have to live in that box which we've been sold when we were a kid. So
Okay.
I can understand people saying, well, you have got freedom, but there is an element of it where I think, yeah, but that's just like the idea of freedom is just a distraction from what's actually going on. So theoretically, we never have that freedom because even when we think we have the freedom, we're still in the box. And I don't have
Okay.
I don't have the answers. I don't have a clue what's outside of this box or what that looks like because
Uh-huh.
all of my preconceived notions are all within that box. but
Ah,
it's like,
oh, but you're
do
aware
you
of
know
the
what I mean?
box. Ah, but you're aware of the
Exactly.
box.
It's like being a character in a video game, but you're aware that you're in the game. It's
Right.
like you have no idea what's outside of it, but you're just aware of it. So how can you overcome it? Well, there's no idea because no one's ever done it. So like I'm in this like really weird spiral.
Yeah, some of the things that you're saying I would wholeheartedly disagree with. But it's
Oh, that's
okay.
brilliant. Hit me with it.
It's
I really want to
okay.
hear it
It's okay.
because I want to hear other
Okay.
perspectives.
So absolutely. And we need to keep things simple so that they can be supportive to you. Like
Yeah.
you need to have those anchors that are going to set you free. You're aware of it. Okay. So I would suggest that there's like a practice of like a cleansing you could call, but like there's different expressions, but you mentioned it earlier about your thoughts and you're aware of your thoughts and how you think. And does it make sense to choose a better thought? That you're free to choose your thoughts?
Yeah.
So then are you
Oh,
aware that um as a human being, you're just innately wired to tell yourself a story? It's just
that's
what we
true.
do. We're meaning making machines, right? Like that's who we are. So we make sense of things by our lived experience, by what we're told. It's absolutely true. You're saying that men are sold a certain thing. The success definition, everything that you talked about is very external. It's it's all the things that people can see. People can't see if you're in your body and feeling completely at peace and feeling
Mm.
empowered and self-assured and confident and free and feeling no pressure, just feeling like you're like enjoying being you and in alignment with who that is. Like you've gotten to know yourself. Like, let's say if you tried on a phrase like saying, I know who I am, or saying,
Mm.
this is me. I know who I am. You know, that kind of affirmation of knowing, of assuring yourself. Like that's when things really get interesting. And so it is the inner game. You are experiencing an awakening, and your self-awareness is strong. You can see the player in the game, right? And so
Mm.
it's an examination of your character. It's like, who are you when no one's looking? Do you know who that guy is? Do you know who's inside? What's going to give you peace? What's going to give you satisfaction in your life? That's the real conversation, right? Like, okay, let's say you become super, super successful by society's metrics. Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you know who you are? Do you feel self-assured and fully powerful and self-expressed and confident? You know, like I feel like that's the real
Mm.
metric. I feel like that's the real desire. And so we need to slow the hamster on the wheel down and we need to get the hamster off the wheel and we can just start because the mind will just ruminate. If you don't train your mind, if you don't take control of your mind, you are at the mercy of whatever comes at you. And that's when you're not free. It all starts in your mind. And that's why that quote that I put into the conversation in LinkedIn, it was referencing Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search
Mm.
for Meaning. That's what you're doing right now. And you're in a very, it's so powerful for you to be in this conversation at such a young age. Like, do you see yourself that you're not caught up in what probably the friends around you are caught up in?
Yeah, I've been seeing that since I was a kid. I've never cared
So,
about the social hierarchy in school, for example.
sure. Sure. So this is a knowing yourself exercise, and you're just at the beginning of it. And I'm not sure if you've gone to my, like, this is so funny. I created a tool right off my website because you're familiar. You've been with me for a very long time. Like I talked to you about, hey, I'm doing this clarity mapping thing, and we went through one
Mm.
together years ago, right? When I first
Yeah.
started, right? So I'm going to bring you back to that. I'm going to say you need to start working your own clarity map. And if you're interested in that, I would love for us to have these kinds of conversations and utilize those tools to help support you and get you some anchors through the process and get you through a clarity map that you can get excited about, that supports you, that keeps you in a mindset and keeps your energy at a level that you're excited every day. Like you can be really and excited is a high energy word. Sometimes it's just peaceful. Sometimes it's just, hey, I'm satisfied with where I'm at right now. Um, what you've been through the last year, if you could tell yourself the story that this is great, you're figuring it out. You're not staying just to stay, you know? You're
Yeah.
moving, you're in flow, like things are happening, there's dynamics, and you're in this process of discovery. So there's this thing that I put out online. It's a freebie that's off my website, and it's really relevant to this conversation because I feel like you need to recognize what phase of life you're in. And I've got this thing that's called a phase finder, and that's supposed to give you some psychological protection. You're not in mastery. You're not in full clarity mode. Like the phase that you're in is in discovery mode. So when you're discovering something for the first time, you have to be kind and gentle with yourself and not so judgmental and not applying society's lens of what success metrics are. Like that's a really hard, like that's a mean way of being towards yourself. It's not kind. It's not what you would do or want for your best friend. So it's kind of don't do it to yourself, like you're discovering, you're
Mm.
exploring, you're super young, you've got time on your side. You should be super pumped about the possibilities. And you should not be fixated on having it figured out and how things were supposed to go, like give yourself some peace, give yourself some space, protect yourself psychologically. And what's going to start to happen with your self-awareness as it's um like it's blossoming, I don't know, like it's just unfolding, your life is unfolding before you, right? It's everything for you right now to take control of the meaning that you assign to things. How you make sense of it is going to determine where it all goes. So you get to choose if you're going to have this positive, kind, wonderful kind of accepting, enlivened attitude about it. Be like, yeah, let's go. Like, it's still like, you're figuring it out. This isn't a static space that you're in. It's not like you're not stalled out in any way whatsoever. Right. The only thing that would do that is to check out and not really care and just, I don't know, pass the time, what, like drinking with friends, or I don't know, just people do things to pass the time and they just check out, they numb out, they do things like that. I'm sure you've seen it. So that's what I'm inviting you into. Like, I want to talk about uh, how does that feel for you if you were going to say to yourself, hey, everything's okay with where I'm at right now?
It feels fine. I mean, like, as I said, I don't usually take external validation, but it's just from kind of watching everyone around me live their lives. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting that you're trying to do what, like, you've been sold since you were a kid. Like, you see
Oh,
it
yeah.
with parents when you get to around my age, about 23, parents start to get a really interesting relationship with their child because they start forcing their lives onto their children. And that's
Oh,
been extremely interesting for me to watch. That's just one. I mean, like, I question everything, including like money, for example. Money's
mm-hmm.
been one I've talked about for a few years now, which is like, why do we actually have money? And what
Mm-hmm.
what you're sold in business is, well, money is whatever you attribute value to,
Right.
which is true, because at the end of the day, it's a piece of metal or a piece of paper. And it's the exact same with art. But why do we pay with money? It's like if I turned around tomorrow and said, no, I'm never going to use money again, it's like I wouldn't be able to live, because it would probably take me a few months and then I'd run out of food and then I'd die, because you can't live in society without money.
What if,
So like,
okay, so why don't
it,
we try on a new definition? See,
Let's go ahead.
we're making meaning out of things, okay? And so making meaning out of money in that way, how about we say money's energy? How about trying on looking at money as breath, as the air around us? Inhaling is earning, exhaling is providing value. And your screen froze. We're waiting for the internet to connect. So what do you think of what I just said?
Sorry, my internet cut out.
Yes.
This
Oh, so
time.
wait, you didn't hear me. Okay, so I said that
No.
with money, how about we try on a new framework, a new definition? And let's say that it's like the air around us. And let's say that inhaling is earning and exhaling is providing value.
Yeah.
Just, and you being here and just being alive, the possibility that you could contribute is adding value. Every exhale is a step forward. It's a breath forward, and it's valuable and it's important and it's wonderful that you're here. And we need you to feel that worthiness to earn, to take that inhale. We need both. You get better, you stay alive, and the planet improves in some capacity. In some way, shape, or form, you're improving the lives around you, and anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
So yes, dropping the success metric, that is that male energy of acquiring assets, acquiring toys, collecting. I don't know, as a woman, I don't like, it doesn't relate to me. Like, women aren't sold that kind of story where like, oh, if I
Yeah.
have all these men, like, it's not the
Yeah.
same
It would be quite
narrative.
weird actually
So
if
I
it
can't
was like
really
that.
relate to, oh my gosh, I've had all these lovers or something. I don't know, it's just weird. It's a male kind of definition. Women probably have a little bit different definition, but it's still the same.
Yeah.
We can get caught up in handbags and all kinds of things. Like, we can, like, women get caught up in designer clothing and fashion and all these things. So I can totally relate to the stuff of it, right?
Yeah.
Uh the physical expression of the success, right? And it's fun. I like nice things. Like, I really like nice things. I like a nice car. I like a nice house. I like nice things to look at in my home, sit on, whatever. It's all your external surroundings, right? It's what you choose to surround yourself with. And I feel like I want to bring the conversation back to something that's more manageable for your mind, and it's simpler, and it's just the energy around you. Psychologically protect yourself and create a space for yourself where you're feeling like you're in discovery and you're free to choose things and you're figuring it out, and the pressure is just off.
Mm.
You're at a more peaceful place and you're discovering, hey, what's going to be satisfying to me? What's going to be leading me? What choices am I going to make in my life that are going to lead me to a place where, regardless of how much money I have, I'm going to be like, hey, this is me. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I showed up and I did the thing the way I could do. And I'm doing it well. And I'm at ease and at peace with myself.
Mm.
Like, that's the place that I have found. And that's why I created clarity mapping, because I didn't get there easily. I had to go through the questions. There's just the 7 questions. And I think that we should do something where we jump on again and have another conversation about what a clarity map, what the results would be. But for now, freedom, your mind being free, is so critical to this whole experience, because without it, your definition of your future is being dictated by someone else. And
Mm.
I'm noticing that you froze. So did you miss something that I said? Tell me if you missed it.
A little bit in the middle there, yeah. But I heard
Okay.
what you said about jumping on and going through the clarity map.
Yeah. We need to look at that, because when you go through this, it's a processing, it's a mental exercise that that is a balancing. It's taking you from your mind and the ruminating and the thoughts that keep happening, and we're freeing it. And when we're freeing it, we're creating the space for it to heal these stories of inadequacy or certain definitions of what it was supposed to look like, what success or the path was supposed to look like, right? And then once you've got that under control and you've taken charge of your mind, I know I love this guru that I follow, Seth Guru. He talks about, instead of being an compulsive reaction to life, you can become a conscious response. Okay. So you're like using that consciousness that your self-awareness is leading you to, you are now able to be in discovery. And your greatest gift right now is just being curious. It's the only thing that's required of you. Stay curious. Who are you? What's possible for you? And then it seems to me like, I'm sorry, I gotta say it, like, Gareth, it feels like every day you show up with your whole heart. You show up in life and you care, right?
Mm.
Give yourself some grace. Give yourself a pat on the back. Say, I'm a great guy. I'm awesome. I'm here. I care. I want to do great things. I'm going to find my way.
Yeah.
Pressure's off because you show up with your heart and you're there and it matters. And we all love you. Anybody that knows you, I'm sure, just loves you, right? I'm getting like a little sappy, but the thing is that that's important for you to do that for yourself. You know, like for me, I went through a whole change when I became a mom, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell my kids? And just like you said, people put their stories on their kids, right?
Mm.
So when their kids get stuck and things aren't working, they apply their lens and their lived experience and their story on the current reality, right? The current experience that the child's having. I'm very self-aware of that, and I do not want to be scripting my children's lives for them.
Yeah.
I am here to empower a new conversation that leaves things open to possibility. Like what's the great thing that could happen, not the predictable thing. You know, you have two tracks here. Your life could become very predictable, and it could create an illusion of safety for you psychologically in some capacity, because every day is the same day and you know what's happening,
Mm.
right? If you're curious and you're like, but what if, and we kind of broaden the definition, we kind of look at what's possible here. What could Gareth get up to that he'd be excited about and say, yeah, this is me. This is who I am. This is who I
Yeah.
came here to be in this world. And I'm pretty awesome at it, right? Like,
Yeah.
Gareth, me having this conversation with you is something that I haven't been giving myself permission to do for years. I haven't felt comfortable taking charge because it feels like I'm scripting something for somebody, and it's for them to script for themselves. And that's why I created a clarity map, so that you have a way of processing your thoughts, anchoring yourself into your own truth, and finding your way where you feel enlivened and inspired and empowered, like you're in alignment with yourself, you're at peace, you're comfortable, you're in flow. They call it different things, but
Mm.
bottom line, you're just going to be like, yeah, I'm cool with myself, cool with my situation, cool with where I'm at. I'm curious, I'm figuring it out, and things are good, and I get to have fun in this world. I'm not so heavy here, enjoyment here, and then you're in motion, you're on with it,
Yeah.
right?
It's interesting because I've in both of my previous two roles, they've both been within startups, and
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to lead with respect, honesty, and openness.
Sure.
Um, and now I'm starting to get the people around me saying, Gareth, maybe you should hide some of that because, like, you're getting fired over it. Basically,
Okay,
because my
interesting. I don't have all the information there, but um, what do you think of that? How does that
it,
feel in your body when you hear that?
it's interesting because I know I'm an oversharer. Like I'll happily talk about everything. But I also feel like if if I want to pursue something that's not what I'm doing right now, the least I can do is be open to my manager about it. About like for example with this role, which I'm just coming out of, it was very written based, and I'm a more visual guy. So I said to them, well, I'm more of a visual person. And when I first started, I was like, I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to be in marketing in a year's time. I was like, I don't know what else I want to be in right now, but this is where I'm at.
Right.
And I did the same, which is what caused me to have my contract ending in September, because I went to them and I was like, I want to go into software development. I want to do something more visual. Is this available at the company? I
Mm-hmm.
really think I can bring a lot more value to the company. So how can
Mm-hmm.
I do that? And then they had a conversation and they came back and they said, well, we haven't got everything, so see you later type of thing. Um,
Mm.
so yeah,
So
I'm kind of
what?
torn because I'm like,
Okay.
I can keep sharing it and like keep being honest and open and trustworthy and respecting, but is that basically counteracting like um like the perseverance, the going when stuff gets tough and it's not necessarily going your way, if that makes sense? I can't remember the word that I'm looking for.
Do you know
Resilience,
how
that's the word.
do you know how scary and most people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be forthright and honest about their place in a role in a company and whether they're enlivened and inspired by it and whether they feel like it's in alignment with their skill set. They would hang on to that job and hide that and suppress it. And most likely, I don't know, I'm making stuff up here, but I've heard that you can manifest disease that way. Like
Yeah,
most people, if they just get a job, they do everything they can to hold on to it, regardless of whether it aligns with them and their goals and their personality or whatever. It just doesn't matter. They got a job, they're going to hold on to it. And we're talking about freedom. Like, who's really free here? You liberate yourself. You set yourself free when your truth is your truth. That was the truth of it. Did you lie when you told them that?
no, not really.
Well, so you saved yourself a decade, maybe? I mean, how long can someone hang on to a role like that? Probably a really long time. Just
True.
pacifist and just get on, like, just make that paycheck every week and drink heavily on the weekends and numb out every night. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just take a
Yeah,
look at how people cope. What are the coping
yeah.
strategies in society? Are people really that checked in and really in alignment with themselves?
One thing that my girlfriend often says to me is that she thinks I'm kind of before my time. Um,
You're
in
true to
in
yourself.
the
That's
aspect
true.
that like I have a lot of thoughts about pretty much everything in life,
Okay.
and it's like society isn't ready to hear it, which I find really interesting.
Okay. So I need to say something because there's a few things
Mhm.
you've said on this call that are hinting towards this. And this is that you will find new people on your journey. The more honest and in alignment you are with what you're finding out about yourself, the more opportunity there is for people to come into your life that feel the same way you do. It's a choice. So if the narrative that you're surrounding yourself with is negative from the people around you, like there's the choice. Stick with the narrative and make it comfortable and everybody feels fine and everybody's like, okay, this is our truth. This is our story. We're going to keep telling ourselves that story. Or you keep moving with a new story, you'll find new people.
Yeah.
Like, how did we find each other? I'm in Canada, you're in the UK. How did we find each other? We had a cure, like we had a
Yeah.
like something happened that was of a like-mindedness. That's how algorithms work. They're trying to match up things, right?
Mm.
So take control of the thoughts in your mind. Take control of this is the thing that I'll be talking about next week with the
Mhm.
parents that I'm hoping to gather. My workshop's called Distracted. Okay. So I'm teaching people the impact of our digital world on our psyche. I'm teaching because from a marketing and communications expert, I know exactly how these algorithms are designed. Okay.
Mm.
And when we want to talk about freedom, a great place to start is how you curate your feeds. What's coming into your feed? How much time are you spending being entertained by silly things that, I mean, people are super creative. There's some fun stuff that I've seen on my Instagram feed and in stories and reels and things like that, that I'm just like, what is going on here? Super entertained. I've had big laughs, but I look at my time and, oh, I just lost half an hour. I was in a feed for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How much did that align with me, who I am, and my purpose in life? Right.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to taking that control back and being more conscious, a conscious response in your life, you would definitely not want to have your digital devices signaling things to you that steal your time, distract you, and just cause you to lose focus on your game, your inner game. Like, what's your life going to be about? Who are you going to be? Do you even know who you are? You know? So
Mm.
it's a great place to start to look at, hey, what are you following? What's coming in, and curate those things. And then watch how much time you're spending. Watch how much time you're spending on these devices being pacified, being entertained, just what's coming at you. I have a hard time with some feeds like on Facebook. I don't like when suddenly there's a very negative, dark, heartbreaking story. And it takes me out of my game because it hurts to see another human being suffering and, oh, this happened in the world.
Mm.
And then I sit there and I'm like, I care, I'm empathetic. I care about people. I can't do anything about that. So I feel disabled. I feel paralyzed. And then I'm in trauma. And then all the other stories start coming up from my childhood and everything else where I was helpless and couldn't do something, either to protect myself or protect someone else. Right. So I feel like psychological protection is something we should be talking about more and more, and having our
Yeah.
feeds coming at us where we don't have any real say of what's going to come on the screen. Have you ever had that where like your time is just stolen because something showed up and it just jarred you and just sucked the energy out of the room kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And we don't have any protection against that. We just jump on these social medias, and the social media's job is to keep your attention. It's going to serve up anything that it can to hold your attention. And so what you have to do is take charge and curate your feed for the things that you will spend time on. And I would say anything that's in curiosity of the things that enliven you, curate your feed that way. Get curious about who you are and how that would connect. This whole gym thing sounds fantastic if it enlivens and inspires you and it's in alignment with who you are. And you could say, hey, I did this. I was a partner in this company, and this is what we did. And what were the success metrics? Hey, we helped so many people transform their health and help them feel good in their bodies. Right? Like, is that
Mm.
something that resonates for you? And is that the energy that you're reaching for? But always be reaching for thoughts that feel better, thoughts that feed your soul, feed your understanding of yourself and who you are, and help you find clarity. Like, it's really important that you recognize that it's those little things that are really the big things. And
Yeah.
and it's the time thing. The time thing is huge. And then as you go through, you end up in a place where you can be with yourself and feel satisfied. And that conversation is, I'm enough. I'm awesome. I care. I'm a good person. I'm showing up in the world. I'm figuring it out. I'm in discovery. I'm not meant to be in mastery yet. I'm not there yet. You'll know when it feels like you're in mastery mode. Like, that's my goal, is to get to a place where this conversation, helping young people, being in connection, um, being in this conversation that's hard, it makes me feel like, hey, I feel the confidence that I could lead in this. I'm not going to fix anything. You and I are together getting curious and trying to discover things about each other,
Yeah.
where we can go in this. So there's no fixing it, or you have a problem, I solve it. It's not like that. right? Like, how does that feel for
Mm.
you?
Yeah, yeah, it is definitely one of those things where it's like we're just having a conversation and sharing our points of view, which
Hmm.
is what I like because you can go to lots of different people and they start to push their beliefs onto you. Whereas actually it's more just kind of having a conversation about, okay, what is everything around us? What is the impact of having your phone next to your bed, for example? It's
Right.
like people will say, yes, I have to have my phone. People will say, no, that's terrible for your mentality and all of that sort of stuff. And there's always
Sure.
going to be for and against. It's just like I
Right.
try to hover in a place of like on the fence just to hear be
Well,
open-minded to hearing both sets of view before making my own view, of course.
so for me, the question becomes, are you empowered and are you consciously responding in life? So I love the feeds that I have. When I go on, I allow myself 10, 15 minutes on my certain feeds. I love certain accounts. They enliven and inspire me, and they help me remember who I am. And then I get going in my day and I live my life, right? So there's a time limit because I can, like, it actually is inspirational to me, some of the accounts I follow. I love seeing aspirational quotes and things like this. And they just like, yes, this is the game I'm in. I'm on the court. I'm playing. I'm full out. Right. So, like on a Monday morning, having this kind of conversation is very enlivening and inspiring to me. And I'm very excited about it. Right.
Mm,
So, I got up this morning, got the yoga in, got my day started, like everything, like just rocking and roll. And I'm peaceful with myself and I'm really happy. And my energy is up there, and it's a vibe thing. Like you start to feel it when you realize, hey, you're in charge of all of it. And so, what I'm saying is, really simply, watch your routine in the morning, your behavior, kind of audit how you're spending your time and how you're priming for your day. How do you get started in the day? Right.
mm.
I don't allow myself to be on devices first thing in the morning. Like, sorry, I don't allow myself. I said that wrong. Got to take it back. I do use my phone to support me in my morning routine. So I am on my phone because it supports my morning routine,
Mm,
mentally, physically, all of it. So I have a script I follow in the morning and it's on my phone. I don't go on social medias. I don't go on things that would distract me from really dialing in and tuning into myself, who I am, who I'm meant to be in this world, and how I'm going to get on with it in life and feel satisfied and happy. I'm allowed to have fun. I've given myself full-blown permission. I'm sorry, it's not worth it if it's not fun. I'm doing it wrong if it's not fun for me, right?
yeah,
So that's the choice. That's what I decided was important to me. So I have a script on my phone that I follow. It's a priming ritual of how I get going. But everyone has to find their own way. And that comes up in clarity mapping. It comes up in the work that I do. Freedom, meaning, and expression. Those are the things. Like, you need your mind to feel free. Then in meaning, you're finding meaning in your life. So you're exploring things, you're being curious, you're doing a great job. Things are changing and it's going to be disruptive and it's going to be unpredictable because you're really in alignment with yourself and you're speaking your truth. And the more you do that, the more you're going to find people that get it and they're going to be in alignment with you and they're going to be supporting you
yeah,
in this curiosity and in this exploration so that you can process your life and feel empowered and find your way. Please don't be feeling like there's something wrong here. Like, your
yeah.
self-awareness alone that this is what's happening is probably going to be that superpower. That curiosity and that self-awareness is going to be the thing that causes the breakthrough.
Mm,
You know, I don't
yeah,
see you as being a person that's going to feel like checking out and numbing out and who cares and it doesn't matter. Right? Like, we're all
yeah,
faced with that. A lot of people are faced with that and they're like, I've heard people say, well, this is what it is. Like, it doesn't have
yeah,
to be. I get you
exactly.
you could go through life just saying, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Like, take no responsibility here. Just like, it is what it is. There's so many
Yeah,
phrases in the world that just, I mean, it's all a paradox. Sometimes that can be the thing that just gives you that breathing space that just says, yeah, today I can just take a breath from all of this and just take a break from it. Right.
yeah,
And then there's other times where it's like, no, I don't choose that for myself. I choose to be in a different kind of energy and a different kind of headspace. And I'm going to keep going and having a good time with this. You know, I don't know.
yeah.
Tell me how that feels for you.
Yeah, it feels good. It's a breath it's like almost a breath of fresh air, to be honest, because
Yay.
like often I find I talk to people my own age, and
Uh-huh.
it's like it's hard to have a conversation. I'm not gonna lie. Like
No, it's super difficult. Like your
like
willingness alone
especially
to be recorded and have this conversation today. Do you feel proud of do you feel confident? Like, do you feel like, hey, I'm going for it. I'm like out there. I'm open.
yeah, yeah,
You're sharing, like you're being vulnerable. It's a beautiful thing. Like it's a really awesome, awesome thing.
yeah, yeah. It's it's one of those things which like enough people don't do, and people don't even pay attention that they aren't doing it, and then they realize, or they might never realize, or they'll realize when they're older or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
it's definitely like a really good thing. It's just like when when you're 23 and you want to surround yourself with those types of people, it's you're really narrowing down. And even the people that are self-proclaimed experts that you see online when they're 23, it's like even those
Uh,
aren't the type of people you want to be surrounding yourself with. Like they may get thousands of views, millions of views even per month, but it's like it's not about that at all. It's more about kind of that kind of aura, that energy.
right.
And so like generally I find it's people that are older that I want to be surrounding myself with. Like it's
Yeah.
quite rare that I meet a 23-year-old that's
Oh, we're losing. I'm not hearing you, Gareth. I wasn't hearing you. So you were saying it's rare to meet a 23-year-old.
hello, there we go. I think I'm
There,
back.
you're back. You were saying it's rare to meet a 23-year-old that,
Yeah, it's rare to meet a 23-year-old that can have the types of discussions that I like to have. Like
right,
you usually it's like, oh, what are you doing on the weekend? Or like stuff like that. Or oh, do
right,
you want to go to town and have drinks? And
right,
it's like I don't care about drinking or like doing whatever the next new cool thing is when you're 23. And
right.
it's okay to want to do that and really cherish your youth. But for me, it's like
You're
just not on the
driven.
cards.
You want it to be more. You want more.
Yeah, yeah, but I try to, and this is where the self-awareness kicks in really, because it's like I want more, but without the illusion of thinking that I need to have more or or something like that. I probably worded that really wrong, but you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
I'm always trying to be aware of what illusions or, as you've said, distractions are taking place in my life.
Right, right. Well, what belongs, what doesn't, like take charge of that, take
Yeah.
control. Um, it's good to meet up with friends for a drink occasionally, for sure, right?
Yeah.
It's just like everything has its place, and there's no judgment of anyone that chooses to do whatever with their time. You're where you're at, and it's an inner game thing. It's an exploration
Mm.
internally, and so my goal here is to help you have a structure to follow that's simple but dynamic, because you're a unique individual and you have things to explore and discover about yourself. So there's no, I don't feel like there's anything, I feel like it would be really horrible actually if I was to try to put definition to you. I can
Yeah.
help you. We can be in this conversation and we can be in exploration and discovery together, and we can get curious together, and I can try to inspire that. But it's up to you to hear yourself and hear the story you're telling yourself and be like, oh, I choose a better story. I choose this direction. I choose this. This is what's coming up for me. Like before we jumped on the call today, I didn't know you were going to talk about getting into a fitness business. that sounds like a lot of fun. And it
Yeah,
kind of puts you in like
it will be
real
once it
world,
gets
like,
rolling.
huh?
It will be once it gets rolling. But
Well, just
it's
start
a lot of fun
doing.
just playing around with different stuff. Yeah.
Just start doing, just come up with like the one thing. For me, I've been blocked, and I've told you this, and it's been years for me. I've been blocked from leading in this conversation. I've been blocked in wanting to get out there and get in conversation with parents and start selling packages and be in like clarity mapping sessions with young people. But I love it. It's my jam. Like, I feel like this is lacking, and I feel people don't have this skill set. They think that there's a certain structure to follow. There's this track that we put kids on with education. So if you get the certain degree, you get the certain kind of life. And there's
Mm.
no conversation about who you are in that. And there's a lot of kids that come out of school that don't do anything. They don't want to find a job in what they're educated in,
Yeah, I've found that as
like,
well.
and so you're speaking to that when you're saying, oh, this is success metrics, the stories you're being sold in society of what that looks like, of making it and being successful. um all that's up to you to decide if you buy into that. And you're
Mm.
already so there because you're already self-aware, and you already know that you're free to choose. So you really are free. You know, you're free to choose how you define that for yourself.
Yeah.
So all that all that's left is to get curious and get into the flow of your day. And I'm suggesting a routine that's healthy and enlivening. And you're like, yeah, this is my life. I'm going for it. And I'm finding out
Mm.
who I am and how this is going to play out. I'm in charge, and you're conscious, you know? I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that's the place to start. That's what I'd like to leave you with, because like, you know, I feel
Mm.
like that's the feedback loop that's going to get you there. You take control of your mind, you're searching for meaning, and you get into that expression, you get into that right action. So get into a routine that serves you well. That you wake
Yeah,
up in the
yeah.
morning and you're into your morning, you're into um what's coming and how you're sorting yourself out. And then we can talk more about what other things you can do to keep going in this journey of self-discovery. Like,
Mm.
what's going to cause Gareth to say, I know who I am. This is me. Like, I found it. This is who I am. This is who I'm meant to be in the world.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that
It's
I'm
spot on.
46 and I'm here, but I'll tell you, the clues were there from when I was a child. I was having this conversation that you and I are having. I was trying to have it with my 12-year-old friends when I was in grade 7. Can you believe that?
It's crazy, isn't it?
I was a crazy curious kid that went to the library a lot and read a lot of books. And somewhere along the way, I was in the self-help section of the library, and I was always into those books. And I'm pretty sure Tony Robbins came out in that era when I was 12 years old. It was like late 80s.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure one of his books kind of sparked something in me. And then it was 2 decades of like, well, is this me? Well, is this me? Well, is this me? Is all I did for a very long time. And then I
yeah,
got married and I had kids, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely me. Right. And then I started to rear my kids and like shape them and like say things to them. And they'd ask me, once kids start asking questions, if you're not self-aware, you're just going to give them your answers. Right.
yeah,
But for me, I was aware, and I was like, oh, I don't want to tell them who they are. I want them to discover who they are. Like, I don't know what to say here right now. And I started to get back into that. And I thought, what's going to raise self-aware, conscious, healthy, well-adjusted kids? And that's how I'm in this now. I'm like, these kids, they can handle this conversation a lot younger than what we think.
yeah,
And
yeah. You're
I
spot on.
feel like we don't get into the conversation young enough because we kind of don't trust what's coming up for them as an exploratory exercise. Like,
Mm.
have you ever experienced people that like a child will say, oh, I want to be a doctor. And then like 10 years later, the parent's still saying, well, they said they wanted to be a doctor. It's like, they were just trying it on.
Yeah, yeah,
They were just getting curious about something. So anyway, so that's how I find myself here today. I'm finding, oh my gosh, nothing's changed from when I was a kid till now. Nothing's changed. We're not in the right conversation. We're not curious enough, and we're not leaving space for that idea that anything's possible. And that, like, I truly believe that no one can know you. Like, you
Mm.
know you. The people around you can help you figure yourself out because they see things and they can say, hey, you're really good at this. Like, I have a lot of people that just love hearing me talk. They're like, you have to be on a podcast. I love listening to how you explain things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to talk. What do you mean? And they're just like, no, I love your energy. I love how you talk. I've had that since I was a kid.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm meant to be talking. I'm meant to be sharing. I'm meant to be like going through these journeys with people conversationally. And it does feel like fun. And I do really like it. But it takes a long time to just be like, no, this is really it. This
Yeah,
is
it really
really,
does.
this conversation is really where it's at for me and where I can say, this is who I am. This is who I am meant to be. This is the conversation I'm meant to facilitate and explore. And that's what I do every day. I get up every day and I eventually find myself in this office researching and doing things and making the clarity map better, making the playbook better, figuring out my marketing mix because I have marketing in this world is, oh my gosh, the digital thing is just like overwhelming, but I'm figuring it out and getting help. I'm hiring people to help me. Like, I'm finding my way. I want you to, why I'm sharing all of this is just for you to understand that this is a never ending process. This is a process of life. Being in inquiry, being curious is going to be for the rest of your life because that's what keeps you conscious. Because
Yeah.
at any point in time, you can just choose to check out.